Sports Countdown. I'm Randy Lee. I'll be joined with my good friend Scott Hardy this morning, and we'll be here with you like we are each and every Saturday till 9 o'clock. So this is a little bit different program than what we do a lot of times. On Saturday mornings, we'd like to hear from you. 256-234-6221. Give us a phone call. If you've got a comment, find us on our Facebook outlet as well. The first hour of the show, we always go through high school sports. Second hour, kind of get you kicked off for what's coming on Saturday with college football. And we've got a big Saturday over on the Plains, so we'll talk a lot about that one. And Scott and I will also take the opportunity to go back and look at last weekend with Alabama and LSU and discuss that. But Scott, us with AHSA Radio Network probably enjoy this time of year as much as anything. And when you get into the second round of high school football, you're going to get games like you saw last night where maybe you expected one thing and you got something totally different. We got a lot of those last night. Yeah, and, when you get to the second round, a lot of times, you may have a 2 or 3 seed that's sitting there that ultimately probably, maybe had the upset or shouldn't have lost. So now you have some teams match up that you maybe weren't thinking, but that's what makes the playoffs so exciting. Definitely does, and we'll start in Class 7A with the scores there as we get kicked off in high school sports this morning. Central Phoenix City moves to 11-1 on the season, and they pick up a big victory last night over Prattville, 24-6. I think that's what the score was at half, if my sources are right. Stacy, if you're out there listening in, please let us know. But 24-6 was the score last night. Good victory for Phoenix City against a Prattville program that's back up and coming, and they'll be back shortly, and they'll be in the mix for these 7A state championships in the years to come. They finished their season 9-3. That's a great season for Prattville. Auburn, big victory last night over McGill-Toolen, 26-0. This one wasn't close throughout. Big shock to me. McGill has really been one of those teams out of the South, outside of Phoenix City, that has found their way into Jordan-Hare or found their way into Bryant-Denny year after year. McGill just can't get off the snide last night, can't find any offense, and congratulations to Auburn High School as they win 26-0. That was the first big shock to me, Scott. Yeah, when I didn't really get a chance to keep up with a lot of the scores, but I was really trying to look at the Auburn-Opelika scores, and when I saw how well Auburn was doing, it felt really good to see them with the opportunity to put up a big victory like that. Yeah, big victory for Auburn, and Hoover has to come back from late and win this football game. I was paying attention. I think this was an overtime game, and it was. Hoover scores on a scamper from Ashford around the right end, gets into the end zone. They win that football game 23-20 over a very game James Clemens team. Brett and I have been doing this program all year. And when you look down the scores on Friday night, James Clemens was one of those teams that you go, gosh, something's going on in the northern half of the state. Lost a game or two early on, didn't lose again. Tough loss to James Clemens, but an outstanding season for them as they finish 9-3. 23-20 victory for Hoover. Thompson gets a victory over Florence last night, 38-31. Good victory for Thompson now as they move to 10-1. Florence ends their season at 7-5. I think we're going to take an early break here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. I think we're having a few technical difficulties we're going to work through. I don't want to be up here talking and nobody can hear me, so we'll get that worked out. We'll come back with our second segment. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill in Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin, comfort for life.
Find everything you need for the perfect outdoor living space at Russell Do-It Center, like the Fire Rock Outdoor Conventional Fireplace, smartly designed masonry systems that are easy to install and are less than half the cost of a scratch-built brick and mortar fireplace. Weber Grills, the best outdoor gas, electric, and charcoal grills, which always come pre-assembled. Yeti Coolers, premium coolers and accessories that are the ultimate in design, performance, and durability. Russell Do-It Center, experience and knowledge from the pros.
The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Hi, I'm Kurt Bowman, General Manager of Vaden Toyota. We'd like to announce our new lifetime warranty on any new Toyota.
Hashtag lifetime warranty.
Hashtag we love our customers.
It can be used nationwide at no additional cost.
Hashtag customer service.
So come on by and let us show you
the Vaden way.
Hashtag maintenance matters.
Hashtag totally awesome.
Vaden Toyota of Sylacauga, just a short drive from home or online.
Hashtag your neighborhood dealership.
If you're seeing the American cockroach, throw up the red flag. Ladybugs, throw up the red flag. Ants and swarming termites, throw up the red flag. And kudzu bugs, throw up the red flag. That's Red Flag Pest Control. So the caution is on. Call Red Flag Pest Control today.
I'm Scott Davis with Red Flag Pest Control. Call me today, 256-825-0430.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you this Saturday. Hopefully you caught some of that first segment. If you didn't, let me run down those scores real quickly again. Not a lot of surprises in Class 7A, but one with the score discrepancy was a little bit of a surprise to me. Phoenix City 24-6 over Prattville. Auburn 26-0 over McGill-Tulane. That was the one that stood out to me. Great victory for Auburn last night. Hoover, 23-20 victory in overtime over James Clemens, and that sets up a matchup that just seems to happen a couple of times every year now against Thompson. Thompson's 10-1. They take down Florence last night, 38-31. So great matchups in Class 7A as we move into the semifinals there. Keep in mind, only 4 rounds in Class 7A, whereas we have 5. And all of the others. Moving into Class 6A, Park Crossing, Scott, picks up a victory over Stanhope Elmore last night, 35-32. Park Crossing comes into the playoffs 3-7. They play a ridiculously tough schedule. Their coach, who we've been over and able to interview here, talked about, they knew what they were doing. They knew that they needed to play some teams to kind of see where they fit in. And once they get into the playoffs, they wouldn't be intimidated by anyone, and they haven't been, as they will now move on to the third round of the playoffs with a 5-7 mark.
Yeah, and when this matchup came out, I thought this was an opportunity. Stanhope kind of had a good draw. I was like, all right, they've got a chance to make a run with how good they've been playing defensively. But Park Crossing with a big victory. And once you get this late in the playoffs, anything can happen at this point in the season. So big win for them. Yes,
congratulations, Spanish Fort. Had a tough middle part of the season where you say, this just doesn't quite look like the Spanish Fort team we've seen in the past. They're not struggling now that it's playoff time. They give back to Wetumpka what Wetumpka gave them a couple of years ago with a 63-21 victory. That ends Wetumpka's season at 6-6. That ends Taekwon Rawls' run there at Wetumpka, who's been one of the best football players we've seen in this region in quite some time. He was outstanding. But a great victory for Spanish Fort over Wetumpka, 63-21. It was Hueytown in I don't know how to explain this other than an up-tempo, high offensive output. Brett Pritchard said it last Saturday when you looked down and you saw these two matched up. First one to 60 might win. They didn't quite get to 60, but they got darn sure close. Hueytown defeats Eufaula last night, 56-49. Ends a great season for Eufaula at 9-3. Opelika, big victors over St. Paul's last night, 20-10. St. Paul's had an early first half lead. Opelika comes back, puts a couple of scores on the board to start the second half, and able to hold on 20-10. Anybody on that half of the bracket kind of stand out to you, Scott?
Really just the excitement level for obviously what you see with Park Crossing, but I think that Spanish Fort again is kind of setting up itself. They're familiar with this portion of the season, and now they're setting themselves up to have another opportunity for a state championship.
Clay Chalkville, victors over Athens last night, 35-7, ends Athens' season at 8-4 mark. Oxford, 35-0 over Coleman. Pinson Valley, your two-time defending state champions in Class 6A, on a roll now that we're in playoff time. They're 9-2 on the season, but they get a big victory over Fort Payne, who ends their season 9-3, 48-10 last night. Muscle Shoals, undefeated in Class 6A. I knew they'd have a tough matchup here with Gardendale, and it was, but they do come out victorious, 30-27. Sets up a big-time matchup next week in that part of the state, as you'll see Pinson Valley, your two-time defending state champions, taking on an undefeated Muscle Shoals team. That's going to be a great one. Clay Chalkville and Oxford, they seem to meet every year, too. That's 4 teams left on that side of the bracket that's there year in and year out.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at. It's like, all right, are there any new teams that maybe come in? You look at a Park Crossing, but outside of that, really, these are the same teams that we're familiar with who are making deep runs in the playoffs, and a lot of that is a testament to the culture that's been built around those programs.
Well, here's the deal with Class 6A, and I like this about high school sports in general. When you can go down and you have 8 teams left, Park Crossing, Spanish Fort, Hueytown, Opelika, Clay Chalkville, Oxford, Pinson Valley, Muscle Shoals. If I told you any of them, maybe outside of Park Crossing, who's going to continue to shock us if they keep winning, but if I told you any of those other teams won the state title, would you be shocked?
No.
I wouldn't either. And that means for good football. It means for good playoffs. And we've got 2 more games where you're going to get home games somewhere. So that means for very good crowds at those home games too, which is good for high school football here in the state. Moving down to Class 5A, which to me is a lot like Class 6A, they aren't top heavy. They are 8 or 10 teams deep. A lot of teams can win the state championship. And they got one region that is, my gosh, this region's still going to get 3 across. They got one of the best regions in high school football here in this state, and we'll talk about that here shortly. Pleasant Grove takes down Faith Academy 33-14 last night. Ramsey High School defeats Valley 41-7. I don't know that there's a better story in the state of Alabama than Ramsey High School over the last 5 or 6 years in football. I never knew of Ramsey having a good football program. Did you? When I was growing up, we didn't talk about Ramsey and worry about Ramsey or even know that they had a football program. Buddy, they got one now. And they won a state championship a few years ago against one of the best high school teams I've seen in Opelika. And they deserved it that night in that game. And they keep winning. This not just that one year where they had maybe 25 seniors that gets them over the hump. No, they are well coached. They got a program that's kind of bought in. They play a physical brand of football. Even maybe if they don't have 80 players out, it doesn't matter how many they have out. They play a physical brand of football, and very impressed with Ramsey. Can't say enough about them. Briarwood's got it rolling at the right time. They defeat Jackson last night 24-14. And Bibb County stays undefeated, defeats Greenville 12-6, sets up a matchup with Briarwood and Bibb County that may end up 7-3 because these 2 teams play great defense, and Bibb County, look at this score. This is not the first score they've had like this either. They've been playing great defense all year. So it's Pleasant Grove taking on Ramsey and Briarwood taking on Bibb County in Class 5A. Moving down to the bottom half of that bracket, Mortimer Jordan, 56-21 victors over Guntersville last night. Center Point, 26-10 victory over Scottsboro. Madison County squeaks by Alexandria 28-27, and Central Clay defeats the number 1 ranked Class 5A team 20-7 last night. Great season for Jasper. Just ran up against a juggernaut in Central Clay and score on the first drive. Listening into that ball game around here, Central Clay intercepts the ball on the 3rd play of the game, runs it back for a touchdown. Pass interference penalty holding back in the defensive backfield called on Central Clay. First down given well, not given, are earned by Jasper. Jasper takes it down, scores a touchdown on that opening drive, and will score again. And this is a team that won the first meeting at Central Clay 35-34, Scott. You know, and I'll present this to you. We've seen some good coaches here in this state. We ain't seen any better than Danny Horn. And when you have a game where you're playing at home and you give up 35 and lose, and you go on the road to play them in the second round of the playoffs and you give up 7, I don't know a lot about football. I've never coached it, but I do know when you pull something like that off, a lot of that is great coaching and getting kids to buy in. I don't think we've ever had anybody do it better.
Yeah, and the thing is with that Clay Central system and really just the whole Clay County environment of football, the culture is there. So the buy-in is there from the day you can walk. So as long as we know what a football is, you know what it is to play football in Clay County. But what you're speaking about in terms of his adjustments, whether it's in season or in game, Coach Horn's ability to shift on the fly to adjust to what his team's skill set is, I think is one of the best we've ever seen.
Yep, 20-7 victory for Central Clay. Congratulations as they move on. But I stay and continue to talk about this one region. You got Central Clay is going to match up with Madison County. But then in that top, you've got Mortimer Jordan and Center Point, 2 teams in the same region. So all 3 of those teams in the same region. Mortimer Jordan, Center Point, Central Clay. Any of those 3 could win a state championship. Center Point's flat-loaded with talent. I'm talking about college football talent coming out of the years. Great, well-coached team. There's 5 or 6 teams here in Class 5A that if they won the state championship, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I just said the same thing about Class 6A, Scott. That's great. Yeah. We used to not say that every year. Now it feels like we're saying that more. I don't know why. I'd love to hear from you out there if you think there's something going on that's making all of these schools a lot more equitable than we've seen in years past. But 256-234-6221 is our phone number.
I think the competitive balance that's happening really has to do, I think, with the influx of like new population coming in some of these communities that are starting to build an environment where kids are wanting to come play. So when you start winning a little bit and you start having people move in, it makes it consistent. Because not to say these teams, a lot of these teams weren't already doing that, but you start to see a couple of teams maybe pop up in the last 3 or 4 years in both 5 and 6A that really weren't teams that you expected to be successful 5 years ago.
Pinson Valley. Now, I've never known Pinson Valley to put a product out there year in and year out that you expect's a championship caliber. Bo Nix goes on. He'll lead Auburn onto the field today. His dad stays around. He's got a brother that's there, and his brother that's there is not the best football player on this team. He's a good one, I'm sure. I haven't watched enough of him to have a good example. But, buddy, they have got talent on top of talent. They just won a Class 6A state championship in basketball last year. They returned their key pieces on that basketball team. Kool-Aid McKinstry is one of the best athletes I've seen in this state. And he's back, and he's only a junior, already a big-time 5-star athlete that everybody's after. I think he's the number 18 to 20 ranked high school football player in the country in his class. He's special. So it's not just these quarterbacks they're rolling out there. They're well coached. They got great athletes, and they're a prime example. They're in a good part of the state that's growing.
Now a lot of it is there. Now that in those areas, in your major pockets in the Madison area, Mobile, Birmingham, but it's good to see the competitive balance.
We got about 3 more minutes left here on this segment, so we'll continue down in Class 4A. A couple of teams that you see year in and year out. UMS Wright defeats Talladega last night, 31-6. Montgomery Catholic takes down Handley 9-6. Andalusia 40-10 victory over Lincoln last night. American Christian 21-0 victory over Hillcrest Evergreen. Bottom half of that bracket, it's Northside over Priceville 41-14. Jacksonville defeats St. John Paul Catholic 56-22. Deschler 27-11 over Aniana, and Anniston 35-7 over Fairview. That's 8 wins now for Anniston. Anniston all the way down into Class 4A. Anytime I see Anniston, anybody in my age bracket that sees Anniston out there, you cannot get past 80s, 90s, early 2000 Anniston football. You did not want to play them at all. Unfortunately, we had them in our region, our area in the day. Holy moly. Best high school football team my eyes have ever seen was the 1990 or 1991 Anniston Bulldogs team that had Steve Christopher at quarterback and Orlando Waters at receiver. I went over and watched Scott. It's too young. You're young.
I don't know these.
Benjamin Russell had a good football team back then, and we're in their area, and we go to Anniston, and this is probably T.O., Alan Barnett, and them's either sophomore or junior year. So we're talented. We're good. We may not even have a loss on the season heading over there. We got there a little late. We got beat 56-0 that night. And we got there a little bit late, and we got out, and it was already like 28-0. And if y'all remember this team, I'm sure some of you out there that are tuning in are saying, yeah, I remember. Steve Christopher was their quarterback. Orlando Waters, they were loaded everywhere, and we looked like, you ever seen like a junior high football team have to match up with like a 10th and 11th grade JV team? Yeah, this isn't fair. Why are they even making these kids do? That's what from a speed standpoint, that's what we looked like out there that night. They won 2 state championships within about a 4-year stretch because they won another one my junior year in Class 6A, and they were loaded. It's so much different in that part. I think Oxford gets a lot of those athletes now. Yeah. I may be wrong, but that's my. But Anniston's clearly doing a pretty good job right now as they're in Class 4A. 8-4 mark, and I bet nobody wants to play them moving forward.
And see, for me, it would have been Oxford. Not that Oxford was winning at that level, but they were the better of the two teams, or the teams that we were aware of more so than Anniston. And again, I think that's a correlation too in like the communities. But Anniston putting out a good product this year, making it to the quarter.
Yeah, making it to the quarterfinals here. One more minute left here. I'll run down Class 3A and then we'll go to break. Flomaton, 11-1, defeats St. James in a close one, 20-19 last night. T.R. Miller defeats Montgomery Academy. That one was 21-14. Gordo, 18. Providence Christian, 7. It was Mobile Christian, our good friend Justin Mosley. 28-10 victory over Pike Road. That was the first loss of the season for Pike Road, but a great season in itself at 11-1. Geraldine defeats B.B. Comer 61-7. Piedmont 42-20 over Lauderdale County. Randolph County 54, Westminster Christian 6, and Walter Welborn 21-14 over Susan Moore, and that closes out the Class 3A scores. When we come back, we'll be into Class 2A, and we'll run down the matchups next week in the 3rd round and also the semifinals in Class 7A. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Growing your business isn't just one thing. It's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second-round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
What's behind the CA?
A world full of opportunities.
Where are you now? Where are you going?
Where do you want to be?
These are all important in determining your path in life.
More importantly, why be ordinary
when you can be extraordinary?
At Central Alabama Community College, you can be anything you wish to be.
Don't put your future on hold and don't settle for less than excellence.
We are Central Alabama Community College.
Central to you.
Central to your success.
Skag, the toughest name in lawnmowers.
Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that Skag means productivity and reliability. Every Skag mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. Skag.
Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
So, you may not know it, but you've seen our work everywhere. For a combined 50 years, SignSource has been Central Alabama's premier option for all your sign needs. Custom signs for your business, club, or organization. Wraps and decals for your vehicle or boat. Full-color banners for your big sale, or a photo collage on canvas for grandma. All with fast, friendly, prompt service. Check out our website at signsourcenow.com. 888-533-6758. Go straight to the source. SignSource.
You know, I'll stick with that question, Scott, as we start the third segment of the program. I mentioned the best high school football team my eyes had seen from an athleticism standpoint with that victory for Anniston. I remember watching an Anniston team with Steve Christopher and Orlando Waters and a lot of others. That, to me, was the best high school team I had ever seen. So I'll present that to y'all out there. Call in, let us know what your thoughts are, 256-234-6221, or you can find us on our Facebook outlet and comment to us there. Best high school team you've seen. It may not be the best one the state's ever had, because I'll jump in and say the best one the state's ever had was the '88 Viger team that won the state championship going away with Electron Williams at running back, but they had a whole bunch of others. They are the only team from this state that has been voted the national champion ever, was the Viger team in '88. They defeated a Berry, which became Hoover within a couple of years, that was led by Stan White at quarterback, 40-something to nothing in the championship game, and Electron didn't play. That's how good they were. Tons of talent on the defensive side of the ball, tons of SEC talent, just ran teams off the field, and they did win the national championship. Back then there was no playing for it, but they did win it through the vote, and I think that was USA Today. So a lot of people, if you're in the southern half of the state, that got to see that Viger team, you'd probably mention that. Which one's the best one you've seen, Scott?
Man, excuse me. I think about the Benjamin Russell ended up beating this team, but maybe the 2003 Opelika team with like Tez Doolittle and Will Herring and those guys like that. That was a good football team just at that age. And then I can remember maybe a couple of those Homewood teams were really, really good in person when they had Freeman at running back when Homewood was there. But I don't know. It's been hadn't really seen like a true. I don't know if there's been a true dominant one in my lifetime like that where you would say, man, that's a tremendous team right there. Nobody in timeline you could go across and say, no, wait, nobody could beat them. But there's been some good ones, though, that we've covered over the years.
Phoenix City right now. A lot of people that go and watch Phoenix City would say, I haven't seen one any better. I mean, when you win a state championship game against Thompson last year by 50-something points, and that's how impressive that Hoover victory was against Phoenix City to start the season this year, because most thought that Phoenix City may run through this schedule a lot like they did last year. Even though they had some tough games. Robert E. Lee gave them all they wanted in the semifinals last year. But this is a special Phoenix City team with tons of talent. And so maybe a lot of you out there that have watched that one. Benjamin Russell did not beat that Opelika squad that you bring up. Benjamin Russell got beat so bad against that Opelika squad, I wanted the series to end. And that's coming from me.
Who was the three? What team? So
that was them. Maybe that was in like 2000.
Okay. All right, now I take it back. So
yes,
then,
take that one way back, because if Tez Doolittle or Will Herring or any of them are listening in and they just heard that ignorance come out of your mouth, they are throwing darts.
In 2000, I can't remember. Maybe it was 2000. When did Chanel have the?
That's in 2000.
All right. Well, then that team. Okay. So that's not
totally
the year.
different.
So
team.
yeah, 03 then would have been okay. So that team was
which
good.
is 02 football season.
02 football. Yeah. Okay.
It was 30-something, nothing at half. It was a massacre.
Was this on the road or at home?
It was at Opelika.
Okay, I was a freshman, I think, and I remember this when they would pull up the.
That was a very good team.
That was one of the best I'd seen.
Spence McCracken had a stretch right there with Opelika, where every year they seemed to be that good. Track stars always have good linebacker and offensive and defensive line play. Great athletes. Will Herring was a quarterback then. Doolittle was playing fullback, running over everyone then. They couldn't get over the hump, and most of the time during that stretch, it was Coach Sav's Daphne team that would knock them out of the playoffs. And that would be around Pat White's time at Daphne. So they were loaded too. Now, they didn't win a state championship with Pat White. They lost in the championship game. They won it going away the next year after White had graduated, if my memory serves me correctly, and I may be off a little bit there. But Daphne was their nemesis. They'd catch them quarterfinals or semifinals every year, and it would be a 3 to 7 point game, and I think Daphne won all of them because I've heard D-Mark and Coach Sav kind of have a little fun going back and forth on that. I do remember somewhat thinking, God, if Opelika doesn't get over the hump this year, they may never. And Spence had them, and he did a wonderful job with them building that up. I know I'm kind of running around out there, but, you know, look, I love high school football. I love going back and talking about teams that were impressive to me. And Opelika winning last night and continuing to win is a big story because I can't think of a program in this state. Look, I call them our rival here. Even though they've beat us a lot more than we've beaten them in the last 20 years. But in my mind and in my era, it was a huge rivalry, Benjamin Russell and Opelika was. But I can't think of a better community that deserves a state championship more than that one because they big time support high school athletics over there. It's not only money and facilities, but it's just a culture like you talk about in Clay County. It's just a culture of great sports and great high school athletics, and they've never won a state championship, and it's just so odd to say that because they've been in it every single year, but just haven't gotten over the hump. And one of these years they're going to get over it, Scott. When they do, they're going to win multiple.
The Ramsey year, I really thought that was true. That was the one I was like, all right, I don't know who's going to beat them now, but I agree with you in terms of community base. I think Alex City, I love that about Alex City is their support for their athletic programs. The only community I can think that rivals that in that fashion is Opelika. And from a financial standpoint, from just an engagement standpoint, everybody is all in with that program, and you can tell it. Like the community lives and breathes with how well that football team is doing.
Well, when they made it to Jordan-Hare Stadium, they almost doubled the previous highest attendance in a championship game. Now, they lost the game, but you could just feel, I mean, it was just red and black coming from everywhere, and it was packing out their side of the stadium there that night, and that's a great thing. And, you know, I feel their 2015 team was unreal. They beat one of our best teams we've ever had and beat us like a drum mule over there at Opelika. Now, we were in it about midway through, but, you know, that Jake Bentley Opelika team, and then I think they lost in the quarterfinals on the road with a bunch of turnovers at Spanish Fort, who ends up moving on and winning a state championship. But that was one of the best teams I've ever seen, was that Opelika team, but they didn't. They don't have a championship banner to hang for it.
So, obviously you want to win one. I kind of know where your answer may be, but would you rather be that program or be affiliated with a program where you know every year, like, we're going to the quarters? Like, that's just minimum.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Or maybe you snuck in one year and won it, but your team hadn't really been.
No, sir. This is the easiest answer ever. Give me the team that's in the quarters. Yes, it's beautiful to throw a banner up there, but I think it's so much more impressive for a 10-year stretch to win 10-plus games every year and give yourself a chance to be there. To me, you're building a program then. Then you're building a culture, and then you're building an expectation, and you're getting something to where kids are involved. You know, there's a lot of communities out there that I don't call it luck into it, but if Jamarcus Russell comes through your program and you're at Williamson High School and he's your quarterback, there's a real good chance, and if you've got anything to go around him, you're going to win a lot of football games. Doesn't mean you win a lot after he leaves. And have they? Okay, well, so I don't know that you make, like, I don't think of them as a football factory. I'm not knocking you if you're down there and listening. But I do think of Opelika as a factory, don't you? Yeah. Even though they haven't won a state championship. And so that would be my quick answer to that is give me the team that consistently puts a quality product out there, that churns out kids going into the SEC and other college programs, that you can kind of find some teams that you're cheering for because of that, and that's always been a good thing. We'll come back, we'll talk more about Class 1A and 2A, and then we will give you the matchups. We kind of veered off track a little bit there, but love your comments. Best high school football team you've seen out there in your lifetime. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill and Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second-round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors. A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
From the smallest drippy faucet to drain cleaning to water heater replacement to gas lines to total systems replacement, A&M Plumbing handles it all. Visit amplumbing.net today for the experienced, licensed, and insured pros at A&M Plumbing.
A&M Plumbing, service at its best when you need it most.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. Got about 20 more minutes here in the first hour of the program this morning. 256-234-6221 is our phone number. We talk high school athletics in the first hour. Moving into the second hour, we move into college sports and really anything else that you have on your mind out there. So give us a phone call today and let us know your thoughts about the high school playoffs and your thoughts about the big game over on the Plains today, or maybe Alabama, Mississippi State, or maybe you want to talk about Alabama and LSU from last weekend. We'll talk about any of them. Moving into Class 2A, it was Leroy defeating Goshen 34-25. Ayrton defeats Lafayette 30-12. Great victory for a local team here in Reeltown as they go on the road and defeat JU Blackshear 30-20 last night. GW Long 28-13 over Laverne. North Sand Mountain in the bottom half of this bracket defeats Westbrook Christian 35-13. It was Collinsville over Ohatchee 21-14. Fife defeats Ranburne 38-7, and Red Bay 43-6 over Sulligent. Talking real quickly about Reeltown again here locally to us, they will take on a very game GW Long team. 30-28, 30 points scored by Reeltown, GW Long with 28 as they defeat a really good Luverne team. That's a good matchup here, and Reeltown's really our only one that we've got locally still in the mix, Scott.
Yeah, and I think that this is what Coach Matt Johnson has been getting or trying to push towards since he's gotten there. And so he's finally had a collection of all his players when they were healthy. And so this has probably been the best team. It is the best team he's had since he's been there. And I really think that the winner of this game, you're setting up probably, looks like a matchup with Fife probably. But I think Reeltown has a legitimate opportunity to be playing in the state championship this season.
Fife special. They play a product that's fun to watch to me, and it's a lot like Reeltown. You know, you grow up and you're in a certain type of system, and you know the position that you want to play, and you've got guys that you've always watched, and I want to be that next one that's back there running the ball at that position. And Jackie O'Neill did it great for years and years, and you know, that's the thing that's going on at Fife right now. You get a lot of the same. Class 1A, Sweetwater defeats Maplesville last night 34-21. Brantley over Notasulga 49-21. It's Lynette over Elba 44-6. Isabella 29-27 over Millbury. Bottom half of that bracket, then we'll go to the phone lines. Spring Garden defeats Hackleburg 34-0. Pickens County 21-20 over Falkville. Mars Hill Bible 59-34 over South Lamar. And Decatur Heritage defeats Donahoe 20-2. That closes out Class 1A. We'll go to the phone lines. Caller, you're on Sports Blitz.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. I just wanted to make a comment on one of the best teams I ever saw play.
All right. Let us know who that is.
I got three, actually. I like to say Sweetwater, Demopolis, Alabama, and Linden, Alabama. One of the best teams I ever seen play high school football in Alabama.
They were all great, and I'll run down a few of those. The first year with AHSA Radio Network, we went and called was actually at Legion Field. And Sweetwater was in the state championship game in 1A. And they dressed, Scott, like 60 players.
Is this against Sullivan?
Sir, they did. They were big 1A school.
Oh, man, they were big 1A, and they seemed like they had every boy in the school that was out and playing. And Brett and I looked at one another, and, you know, our first time calling the state championship game, and we haven't been to as many of those 1A games. But I looked at Brett and said, how in the world are they not going to win every year? Because they had 7th and 8th graders that were men out there playing. Always impressed with Sweetwater. Demopolis with DeMarcus James was one of the best teams I've seen. Is that the team you're talking about?
Yes, sir. I'm born and raised down in Mary.
Yeah, DeMarcus James, when he was the running back there, I think they went undefeated his last year and won Class 5A. He rushed for about 3,000 yards that year. They were special. And Demopolis is also an area of the state, and you know this better than I do, that they love football. They have great athletes. They always put a winning product out there, and they've been doing it for 100 years.
Yes, sir, we have.
And Linden's a winner all the time. Is there a certain Linden team that you remember that was one of the best?
I like to say that 06 team, the team I played on.
Uh-huh.
When we went up against Chris Bailey from ACA.
Oh, yes, yeah. Remember that.
Hard to play all this year.
Oh, man, that was a high powered offense for Chris Smelly, and that was a very good Linden team, too. So who are we talking to this morning?
Oh, he's talking to Marcus Kelly. I graduated in 07 from Linden. I played DN for tight end.
Well, great talking to you. Call us again one Saturday, okay?
Man, I watch this show every Saturday, man.
Oh, thank you very much, and we love to hear from you out there, and it sounds like you're a high school sports fan, so you're right up mine and Scott's alley, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the phone call. That's from Marcus. That area of the state's special, Scott. They just throw talent on top of talent, and they're all mixed in with one another right up and down one road, I think. Thinking back to some of the videos they put up on the board at Jordan-Hare and at Bryant-Denny of that. What's the road? Somebody out there is going to know what I'm talking about, but there's a stretch of road there where you've got one school after another, and they're all very competitive, and they're all playing one another and playing for championships down there. Leroy, I think, is also one of them.
Yeah. Was Sweetwater, was that the jailbreak game?
Jailbreak was Leroy.
Okay.
You want me to tell the story?
But it was against Sullivan.
It was against Sullivan.
Okay.
And
All right.
Sullivan, this is in Class 2A.
Okay.
And we're up there, and it's one of our first years calling state championship. We got about 5 of us in the booth calling the game. You know, we're going big on this, or we're going home. And we got a good friend of mine, Austin Robinson, who did a lot of programs with us. And we're in our 5th game of 6 that all of us had called. You know, we didn't mix them up back then. We just called all of them. And Sulligent was playing Leroy, and Sulligent had a very good linebacker and a very good running back, and that's how they had gotten through. Both of them had gotten hurt. And Leroy is winning. It's maybe Clint Mosley and that crew. You got Sammy Coates was younger, but they were loaded. Leroy was winning by about 50. And Sulligent is walking, about to go into the end zone to score a touchdown, and fumbles the football, and Leroy picks it up, and they run it back for a touchdown. And right in the middle of the call, Austin looks over and says jailbreak. And I mean, it had gotten out of hand anyway, and it was a whooping like none other. And we went off air. We've gone off air doing that right there a lot of times over the years. One of the best ones I can remember, we got about a minute left here on this one, was me, you, and Brett.
The punts, Grace.
Was Benjamin Russell's playing Jeff Davis, and both teams, I apologize if you're out there and you're listening, both teams were just plumb pitiful. And we're both playing for, I think it's the only chance either one of us had to win that season. Am I wrong?
That was it.
There were so few people there. I don't even know that we had parents.
It was fall break too. It was not a good time.
You could count the humans in the stands, and we're up there calling it, and this thing's impossible to get into. It's easy to say now that a lot of those guys are 30-something years old, so you can deal with it. And we have a punt. Did it hit the up backs in the back of the up back?
Yes. And oh my God.
It hit the back of the up back, and you got to understand, we had called about 3/4 of just miserable football. This may be Danny's first year at Benjamin Russell. By the way, Danny's first year at Benjamin Russell, we didn't score 100 points all year. Now I just had a whole segment on me saying that I think he's the best coach that the state's ever produced, in my opinion. And we didn't score 100 points for a whole year. Now, that same coaching staff scored over 500 2 consecutive years, only 4 years later. We didn't score 100. But we had a punt that went in the back, and Scott was the only one that got it together then. We went off air for 10 minutes. Me and Brett were in the floor kicking around and crying, so that may not be
We've had some good ones.
Well, that was one of the best ones.
That's one of my favorite moments of being part of a game ever. That, and then the band playing for whoever the band that did Purple Rain.
Minor. I'll come back and talk about that. 256-234-6221. We'll go ahead and take another break here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
Growing your business isn't just one thing. It's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
Expect it or not, the loss of a loved one is difficult. Put your family first by planning ahead. This is Joseph Dean, new owner of Alabama Funeral Homes and Cremation Centers. We are a full-service funeral home with an on-site crematory and cemetery. Whether your need is immediate or you would like to plan in advance, our experienced, compassionate staff can assist you in designing an enduring memorial experience, burial, or cremation. Alabama Funeral Homes and Cremation Centers on Highway 280 in Camp Hill or online, alabamafuneralhomes.com.
I'm Jimmy Goree with Goree's Furniture. We would like to invite you to come shop our huge selection of furniture. But if you don't have time, we have over 2,000 items you can have shipped directly to your home. Go to GoreesFurniture.com, look for 48-hour quick ship. Shop, click, ship, it's just that easy. You can shop us here, or you can shop us online, only at Goree's Furniture.
Your expressway to saving.
Seven or 8 minutes here in the first hour left. Let's run down the matchups. These are third round matchups in 1A through 6A. Semifinals already in Class 7A as they only have 4 rounds. So in the semis, you're going to have Auburn taking on Phoenix City. That's a rematch from late in the regular season. 9-3 Auburn at Central Phoenix City, 11-1. And then it's Hoover at Thompson, year in and year out, where it looks like now those two teams are going to play each other 2 times every year. Get the same here. That one will be in Alabaster at Thompson High School, who's 10-1 on the season. In Class 6A, it's Park Crossing at Spanish Fort, and Opelika will go to Hueytown. Wake up, Hueytown. I'm telling you, Opelika is going to bring everybody in the community over there, and Hueytown can really play on the offensive side of the football, and they got one of the best running backs we've seen in this state in quite some time. So that should be a wonderful football game. Look forward to kind of seeing that one and covering. Hueytown's one of those communities that's starting to win a lot every year, not just Jameis Winston coming through, winning every year and putting a good quality product out there. So they're doing something right in Hueytown. Clay Chalkville 10-2 at Oxford, 11-1, and Pinson Valley will be on the road at Muscle Shoals, 12-0. In Class 5A, it's Pleasant Grove on the road at Ramsey. Bibb County, 12-0 at Briarwood Christian. So 2 very good games there in the Birmingham area. Centerpoint is on the road at Mortimer Jordan. Again, matchups of 2 region foes, both very good football teams. And it'll be Madison County on the road at Central Clay. Both of those teams at 10-2. In Class 4A, Montgomery Catholic at UMS Wright. American Christian on the road at Andalusia. Northside at Jacksonville in the bottom half of the bracket. And Deschler on the road at Anniston. T.R. Miller will move off to Class 3A, and T.R. Miller is on the road at Flomaton. Gordo, at our good friend Justin Mosley, will host Gordo as Mobile Christian makes it through to the quarterfinals. Piedmont, 11-1 at Geraldine, 8-4, and Walter Welborn's on the road at Randolph County. Both of those teams are 11-1 on the season. In Class 2A, it's Ayrton at Leroy. G.W. Long will be at Reeltown, so Reeltown hosting a quarterfinal matchup. Get out there, support here in the local market your Reeltown team that is really the lone one we got left playing for a state championship or for hopes of a state championship. North Sand Mountains at Collinsville and Red Bay at a Juggernaut in Fife. Both of those teams at 12-0, Scott. In Class 1A, it's Brantley at Sweetwater, Isabella at Lynette, Pickens County at Spring Garden, and Decatur Heritage at Mars Hill Bible. A lot of those teams left there in Class 1A undefeated. Lynette's got one of the best quarterbacks here in the state of Alabama that will be moving on and playing football at Alabama next year. Great coach there in his father also. Mars Hill Bible wins Class 1A going away last year. There's a lot of teams left all the way up and down that I wouldn't be shocked if they lose, win, or what, and that's a good part.
Where's Mars Hill Bible from?
You shouldn't have asked me.
Well, I'm saying, is it like
yes,
North
I
Alabama?
know, but I think it's Florence.
Florence, okay.
Almost certain it's Florence. If I'm off there, I apologize, but that's my understanding. It's a fairly new school. And, man, Brett was, I don't know if Brett called that game last year or if we were just watching, getting ready to call. I think we were calling the next game, but it was a runaway. And Mars Hill, when you look down through here, you know, the teams that I would see that would match up extremely well with them may just be that Lynette squad. So we'll see. And Sweetwater, by the way, Marcus still in it, and they will host Brantley, who's always really a class of Class 1A in whatever sport that they're playing in. Scott, got a couple more minutes here on this segment. Let's close out the high school portion of the program. We had a question early on. Best high school team you've seen during your stretch of watching, because we're getting some really good ones right now. Phoenix City may be one of those. I think they got one of the best coaches we've produced here in this state. A couple of comments that we had out there. The 2011 Prattville team was one of the best that we've seen here in this state. They had Justin Thomas at quarterback, Justin Shanks on the defensive line. They were loaded. They would run. Yeah, that's the one thing about Coach DuBose that's special. He gets buy-in from students to play. I think back to when he was at Prattville. I mean, the field would shift when they'd get off the bus. They had 150. 150 dressed. And my understanding is back when Prattville would dress 150, that may not be all of them. There were some others that they had maybe in the 10th grade that didn't travel. I could be off there. But Prattville, you know how many Phoenix City dresses right now?
80.
137. 137 at Phoenix City. And that's selling a program. That's marketing what you're selling. That's winning. That helps too. But you don't start winning until you get the Joes and the Bows out. And Coach DuBose gets the Joes and the Bows out better than anyone. And then once he gets them out, he markets them and gets them on and gets them playing. Some coaches are better than others at that, aren't they?
I think, excuse me, in this day and age, it's even more critical that in high school sports, especially now, you have someone who understands the dynamic of being a head coach and kind of a PR person at the same time, because it is about selling your program, not necessarily to the rest of the state, but to your own community and to your own students. I mean, that's how you get them out. But 137 kids, that's a lot, man.
137 in Phoenix City, and yes, Phoenix City's got the enrollment number to pull that out. But I'd like to see back 8 or 10 years ago how many they had out before Coach DuBose, because they weren't playing for state championships. Last year was their first state title since my sophomore year in high school in '93, when they won one. So they haven't been playing for them year in and year out. They've always had a good quality product over there, but not a championship caliber product. I bet 10 years ago they'd get 70 or 80 out.
Well, I asked Brett this a couple weeks ago. If, say he had stayed at Charles Henderson and say that's where he would end up, how do you think it would have been the same?
They'd have won like crazy. Because he sells the product. Yes, people probably choose to come and be a part of that product, but who wouldn't? It's like over in Alabaster, you get some coaches, and I'm not saying this about Coach DuBose, but I'm just saying there's a thought process out there that certain coaches go to certain areas, and then all of a sudden the athletes migrate to that area. Is the coach doing something wrong? No, I'm saying the coach is doing something right. Because if I live in Pelham, or if I live in Chelsea, and I'm not knocking their programs, neither one of them, or if I live in Birmingham, and I see someone throw $100 million plus into a school system, and I see their facilities are better than anybody's in the state, and I know that Mark Freeman's coming to coach, it's an easy move for me to get in Alabaster city limits. You agree?
No,
Some areas
100%.
just easy. And if you're in Phoenix City, if you're in Columbus, or Smith Station, or anywhere in that neck of the woods, it's a pretty easy move for you to decide, that's where I want my boy to be. And I want him to be coached by them. And they care about athletics, and I care about athletics. Right? Well, I mean, you're up here talking, by the way. It's not a negative term to say that athletics means something to you.
No, I think
so. I think that they do get buy-in, and they do get people. They did it at Prattville. Bill Clark started it. DuBose kept it going. Now, I think they're getting it back, but you have to sell it. And if you don't sell it, you get to where Prattville was 5 years ago, which was 1-9. Maybe 1-9 in back-to-back seasons. I can't remember. I know they were 1-9 in one season, which was mind-numbing to me that they'd ever get back to that level. But they did. We're up against the top of the hour break. We come back, moving into college football. We'll take your comments, take your phone calls. 256-234-6221. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
So, you may not know it, but you've seen our work everywhere. For a combined 50 years, SignSource has been Central Alabama's premier option for all your sign needs. Custom signs for your business, club, or organization. Wraps and decals for your vehicle or boat. Full-color banners for your big sale, or a photo collage on canvas for grandma. All with fast, friendly, prompt service. Check out our website at signsourcenow.com. 888-533-6758. Go straight to the source. SignSource.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second-round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
J.A. Smith Construction, with 19 years experience, is your trusted choice for construction. Site clearing and grading for new home construction, basement excavation, concrete paving, storm drain installation, fish ponds, and slough dredging. No job is too big or too small. Call Alexander at J.A. Smith Construction at 334-531-0199 or email asmith@jasmithconstruct.com. J.A. Smith Construction, your trusted choice for construction.
Second hour of the program is college football. We may jump into something different, but I doubt it because we can have a hard time this time of year getting into all of it. Scott, Alabama LSU, let's start there because the game lived up to the hype for the first time in a long time. Alabama has owned that series. Alabama's defense has owned the LSU offense for the last 7 or 8 years. I never would have thought it. I'm glad. I hope none of you listened to me last Saturday and went out and bet around what I said because I had Brett, I had him all believing that there's no way that a Nick Saban 2 weeks off defense could give up what they gave up. But LSU, Alabama scored 41 and didn't play well on offense in the first half. Would you agree with that?
Agree.
So they could have gotten another couple of scores. LSU scored 46 and shut it down in the third. So they could have gotten a few more. So, Alabama could have won maybe 55-54 or something, but LSU had more points to score out. I never would have thought that. How about you?
I didn't expect it to be in that fashion, but I thought that due to the competition that Alabama had faced prior to that game and the quality of competition that LSU had faced, I felt pretty comfortable. I didn't think that, Burrow was that good. But he is. I mean, it is what it is. He's proven it week in and week out. But I think the thing that separates this year compared to any other season is that this is the first year where the offense really gave the opportunity to its players to be as successful as possible. This offense is conducive to the athletes that they've been recruiting for the last decade. They just weren't in a position to be as successful. Now, when you go up athlete on athlete, mean, the receiving corps is just as good as Alabama's. I think from a defensive standpoint, they were similar. But offensively, this is the best LSU team I've seen in a very, very long time.
Joe Brady, has he made that big of a difference? Hard to say he hasn't.
Because it's from one year to the next. I mean,
Yeah.
it's instant. And, I mean, that's what Coach O, that's not necessarily his thing. He said, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to find somebody who Burrow was a top-tier quarterback coming out of high school, and this was what was happening with a lot of their transfers that were coming in. They were big-time players, but then they get there, and the system doesn't allow them to really develop into the player that they were supposed to be. Not now. I think that this only helps them going forward, and so where a school like Auburn or maybe an A&M would normally get that guy, LSU now has opened itself up because they now see how explosive this offense can be.
Marcus Spears
He killed it.
He has had more fun this week than I can think of any sports personality outside of Charles Barkley. When Auburn went on the Final Four run, hard not to understand where he's coming from, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's had to sit up there and do these shows, and even though, from a professional standpoint, you've got to keep it non-biased, but everybody knows that he's an LSU guy, and so when you're going against, if you've had to witness that defeat for 8 years in a row, obviously, yeah, you have something to be excited about, but it really, I think, silenced a lot of the doubters surrounding whether or not the team was legitimate. I think they had to beat Alabama for them to be considered legitimate, and I think that was a turning point for what could be a shift in the SEC West.
Impressive game by Tua. He didn't play perfectly, but, man, he was hurt. He was hurt bad. Did you watch him walk off the field at the end of that football game? Well, I watched him walk off, and, I think we were on a text thread, a bunch of us, Scott, and I was saying, that guy's barely moving. And he didn't limp around out there on the field. If I'm an Alabama fan or if I'm those analysts that are watching this guy, I'm more impressed with that than anything I've seen from him, because he willed himself out there on the field. He threw for over 400 yards, and he didn't play perfectly, but he played darn good. He played as good as anybody outside of 3 or 4 more other quarterbacks that are out there. He impressed me with what he did Saturday.
Yeah, and I've tried to not buy into the Tua hype, and not in terms of his play. I think he's great. But I compared it last year, I think, when I was like, this is how it felt for Alabama fans to watch Cam. It was like, man, he's so good. Well, they only had to do that for a year. This has been an onslaught of just offensive production, and he's great. He's a great player. And I think I'm with you. I think that this only elevates his draft stock, because you want somebody like that leading your football team.
Najee Harris, to me, had a coming out party. I've knocked him on this show. Luke has knocked him. Alabama fans have knocked him. But he did everything well. He wasn't Barry Sanders explosive, but he catch the football out of the backfield. Ran the football hard, made people miss. 200 yards of total offense. Alabama needed that from a running back, and I think they've got something now that they can build on, Scott, and that may be good for them moving forward and trying to win a championship.
Yeah, and excuse me, I'll be interested to see Saban's gamesmanship the rest of the season. Obviously, they've got to win out. None of it really matters, but I'll be interested to see how he, in the media, for example, he's been really saying that, Tua may not play and we may hold him out where it's a game-time decision. I think that is more going toward the committee to say, hey, we brought him back a week early. Like, this is what happened. We only lost by 6 or whatever the score was with an unhealthy Tua. So would it have been more impressive to lose by 14 with Matt Jones, or go ahead and you play in this fashion? So I think that there's going to be some gamesmanship on his part to try to facilitate a path toward it.
I've said all of these positive things about Alabama, so I've got to, and anyone out there that knows me, if you're just tuning in, I'm an Auburn fan, but I'm a massive Nick Saban fan. But this is a slight knock on Nick Saban here. To me, and I don't know that he has an option. I think that you have to. Real odd for me to watch him, though, go into salesmanship mode after they've lost. And now you're going to see him out there on the airwaves really touting a reason that they should be in the championship. when they just gave up 46 at home, and it could have been worse. And to me, the Nick Saban that I love, I'm an Auburn fan, but I still, it's fair to still like a coach that doesn't coach your team. The Nick Saban that I love doesn't give an excuse to poor play like that. And giving up 46 at home, I don't know that there is an excuse for that. I'm sorry. Now, if I'm an Alabama
somebody may
fan,
have something to retort back, because I think we've got Luke on the line, so he may have.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have Luke for an entire segment to answer back to that, and we'll get him during the break as well. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Hey, slow down, buddy. This ain't Talladega, and that race car driver's number on your back window, you ain't him. Truth is, just 10 miles over the speed limit, and your chances of killing someone are 4 times higher. So forget the number on your window and memorize the one on that orange prison jumpsuit. Stop speeding before speeding stops you.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
You already know the power and reliability of a Mahindra tractor. Get ready to meet their ATV and UTV lines. Haul more and tow more. Do more. Reaching speeds up to 60 miles an hour. Models have a 12-inch ground clearance and the ability to haul up to 1,200 pounds. There's a Mahindra utility vehicle and a model specifically to get the job done. Test drive today at Lake Martin Tractor and Outdoor. Serving Tallapoosa, Coosa, Clay, and Talladega counties. 256-392-3613.
Alex City Marines, located on Cherokee Road in Alexander City, and the Yerkes invite you by to see what they have available today. The 2020 Manitous and Landaus are in, and boy, are they gorgeous. Also, some great deals on demos. Take advantage of that while they last. Alex City Marine also is doing shrink wrapping, storage. Get in line now. In fact, call this number, 256-215-FISH. Alex City Marine, Alex City.
Hi, I'm Kurt Bowman, General Manager of Vaden Toyota. We'd like to announce our new lifetime warranty on any new Toyota.
Hashtag lifetime warranty. Hashtag we love our customers.
It can be used nationwide at no additional cost. Hashtag customer service. So come on by and let us show you the Vaden way.
Hashtag maintenance matters.
Hashtag totally awesome.
Vaden Toyota of Silicaga, just a short drive from home or online.
Hashtag your neighborhood dealership.
We got about 45 minutes left on the program. I want to thank all of you around the state of Alabama for tuning in every Saturday morning from 7 to 9. Got our good friend Luke Robinson on the phone with us now. And Luke, I was talking about Alabama's loss last week to LSU, really bragging on Tua and Najee Harris, really a coming out party for him. Did mention heading into break, you know, I love Nick Saban, even though I'm an Auburn fan, and you know that because I talk about it a lot on this program. But it does get a little odd this time of year where if you do have a loss, you got to go to the news outlets and try to start selling a reason why your program deserves to be in it. And it's always weird to me to hear him do that at all because he doesn't seem like a guy that gives an excuse for a poor performance on the defensive side of the ball like we got from Alabama last Saturday.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an excuse. I think every coach has to go and try and sell their program because you're all going for the same goal just to get into the playoffs unless the chips fall where they may. And it's not an excuse in the sense that Alabama's probably dealt with more injuries this year than any other team in the country, at least any other competitive team. Now, most of their injuries came either before the season or after a game or two of the season when you talk about LeBron Ray. But losing, I mean, how many teams could lose a guy the caliber of Dylan Moses or even Josh McMillan, who wasn't great, but he was very serviceable and still be competing for a national championship. And meanwhile, then not to mention you've got a hurt quarterback who's your best quarterback in school history. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily excuses. I think he's sort of painting the picture that we all know, but nobody ever likes to hear about Alabama's injuries because they're all like, oh, you can just plug and play with another 5-star. Sort of, kind of, but nothing beats experience. And Christian Harris and Shane Lee and those guys they don't have the experience right now. And Shane Lee would be so much better, Christian Harris too, if either Josh McMillan or Dylan Moses were in the game helping guide them where to be. And right now they just aren't there doing that. And look, it was eventually the juniors leaving early for the draft was going to catch up to Alabama at some point, and it may have done that this year. And so, yeah, it's going to continue to be an issue, but it'd probably be a little bit of an issue today, but that's one reason Mississippi State will probably score more than they normally would. I don't think Mississippi State will win or even cover, but I think they'll score more than they normally would.
Luke, what's going on in the Alabama secondary? The talent seems to be there, but for whatever reason, this does not look like a product that Nick Saban's put out there in the secondary this year.
It's very true. I think there are a lot of young guys, and, you know, there is a sense of entitlement. There's always been a sense of entitlement to the fan base, but there's a sense of entitlement to the players now, I think, where they just look around and go, yeah, we're going to play for a championship. I mean, that's just what we do, so here we go. Well, you look at something like this freshman class, which is very talented, and you look at something like the 2008 freshman class with Julio Jones and Ingram and people like that, and you realize that crew came in not only more talented than everybody in 08, but also hungrier than everybody else. They were dying to win championships and get Alabama back on the map. This crew is just sort of like, yeah, we're going to come here, and I'm better and faster and stronger than you, and we're going to kick butt. And you know, that allows Alabama to beat South Carolina or to beat Ole Miss, but it ain't going to beat LSU because LSU now is more like 08 Alabama, where they're just chomping at the bit to beat whoever they can. They spent all summer. I mean, you can easily tell in their quotes post-game and the emotion that Clyde Edwards-Helaire portrayed after the game, that he spent all summer using Alabama as his motivation. You know, they're not sitting around working out with pictures of Mississippi State on the wall. They're sitting around working out with pictures of Alabama scores from the last 8 years on the wall. And so that allowed them to get through it, and kudos to them because they were certainly better on that day.
Got Luke Robinson on the phone, talk a little Alabama football and Alabama athletics in general. Luke, I sense a disgruntled fan base when it comes to replays in general. That Moss call was a big one this past Saturday. Just your thoughts on the replay and too much of it, or what's your thoughts?
I'm ready for replay to go away, period. And it's not just because of the Moss call, which clearly they blew. They just blew it. And I would have had a lot more respect for the SEC officiating office if they just come out and said, you know what, we screwed that one up. Sorry. And you know, I can live with that because just like Tua dropping a fumble when nobody's touching him or throwing a pick right before the half, hey, sometimes somebody who's really good at something screws up. So I can live with that. What I can't live with is the SEC office trying to come back with some phony baloney excuses about why this replay was correct, because it clearly wasn't. He clearly went out of bounds on his own, clearly came back in. Awesome catch, but it was illegal. And everybody said, well, maybe LSU would have scored anyway, and that's true. But first of all, they may not have scored. Secondly, it would have taken more time off the clock, which probably would have meant Alabama wouldn't have tried for another score, thus leading to an interception. So my solution is let's just get rid of replay, and here's my reason. Go back to Auburn LSU, for instance. How many Auburn fans for the next week we're talking about Derek Brown being held so much, as I said in the paper, he had to change his Facebook status to it's complicated. Because if replay's design is to get a call right, that's what I hear from everybody who loves replay. We got to get the call right. Well, how many times do we come back from replay and they go, well, we really can't tell if it's right or wrong, so we'll just go with what we said, number one. Or number two, how many times do you have a replay on something like Thaddeus Moss's catch where you're like, okay, we think it was wrong, but we're pretty sure he was forced out. We're not 100%, but we're pretty sure. So why couldn't you replay that part? Why can't you replay holding? Like number three, why can't you replay holding like you do on Derek Brown, like LSU did? If the importance of the replay is to get it right, then shouldn't it be to get it right on everything? Why wasn't there a replay on the face mask on Jalen Waddle, which was an egregious, horrible missed call? Now, he scored a touchdown from it, but it could have changed where you kicked the ball off from. So what I'm saying is, if the goal is to get it right, then we should replay everything. I'm of the opinion, hey, replay not only makes the game last longer for the fans, it just sucks to sit in the stands and wait on an official to communicate with another guy back in Birmingham to figure out what kind of load of crap they want to feed it, number one. And number two, it screws up the game flow. I mean, I think it's better for players, just like I think TV timeouts are terrible. I know we need them in basketball, but I can't stand them because I think they go against what the game actually is. And replay just means, hey, it can ruin momentum for a team, and it does very often, where one team gets a fumble, and then, they're all jacked up to the sky. Well, we got to replay it and see it from 32 different angles, and then conclude, okay, it really was a fumble. But by that time, everybody's had time to get their breath, momentum's gone. It just changes the whole outlook of the game. I'm ready for replay just to go away, period. And let's just deal with mistakes from refs like we deal with mistakes from players, coaches, and fans.
Well, Luke, you and I have had some conversations over Twitter the last month or so, and I was talking about expectations. And I said that I thought that the success of Urban Meyer and Nick Saban ultimately has tarnished what people, or has inflated, I think, what people think success is. But from a fan of Nick, or a fan of the school that Nick Saban is coaching, at what point does the expectation level, like, where is the expectation level for Alabama? Like, you lose a game to what is now the number one team in the country. Like, is that, I feel like there was a meltdown on social media, like Alabama lost. At what point does it become normalcy for you to lose a game, I guess?
Well, hopefully it never.
Not normal, but I mean, you know what I mean.
But I would say that, there's going to be a meltdown every time Alabama loses right now, just like there's a meltdown every time Tom Brady loses. I mean, when people love to pull the rug out from under greatness, that's what they love to do. When you're on top of the world, people are going to take shots at you. They're going to build you up till you get there, and then they're going to try and tear you down as much as they can back down to what they perceive to be a normal level. You look at somebody like a LeBron James, look at Michael Jordan, anybody throughout history that has been great in any capacity, people have always wanted to tear them down, and the moment something does happen that makes them look human, people pounce all over it because it's so abnormal, and people want to treat them like, yeah, you're just one of us, you're no better than us. When really, I mean, look, Alabama has put in more work than most every other team. Not every team, but most every other team. Clemson has done that same thing. When Clemson loses the game, I promise you social media is going to be the same way. When Duke doesn't make it to the Final Four, which has been quite often here lately, social media goes crazy. It's the nature of the beast, and it's just something you got to deal with. And the only thing I can tell people is, hey, look, if you want your expectations to be lower for Alabama, right now, so you don't get hurt as bad, that's fine. But I think the expectation right now for Alabama is national championships. When Saban retires, it's going to be there's going to be an expectation adjustment for everybody.
Luke, thank you so much. We appreciate the phone call this morning.
All right, guys.
Thank you. We're up against a break. More of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Scotty Fortenberry is Dadeville and the Lake Martin area's full-service Alpha agent. His office on Broadneck Street offers comprehensive life, home, auto, and boat insurance at Alpha's competitive rates. Scotty and Alpha Insurance are Alabama's #1 life insurance company for a reason. You'll always get the personal attention you and your family need. Scotty also has your commercial needs covered, so whether it's just a quote or full insurance evaluation, call Alpha agent Scotty Fortenberry at 256-825-9211.
Become a member of the Superior family. Superior GMC Cadillac, Superior Hyundai, or Superior Automotive Pre-Owned. Between our 3 dealers in East Central Alabama, we offer the superior selection and service for any buyer's needs. All with the personal touch of being locally family-owned and operated. Check out any of our dealers online, or our 3 great lots in Anniston on Quintard, or our pre-owned Superstore Pell City, and join the Superior family of value. Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second-round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
Did your team just win the big game? Are you looking for a unique way to honor a valuable employee? Lila's Engraving has you covered, offering a large selection of custom trophies and plaques. Lila's also offers cast aluminum car tags, custom engraved wine glasses, clocks, and wood cutting boards. They even offer custom framing for any art or picture as well. Lila's combines the best quality items with the fastest service around. With over 27 years of experience in the Alexander City and Lake Martin areas, Lila's Engraving is your only choice for custom awards and engraved gifts. Always remember, winners choose Lila's.
Guys, it's back! Inline skating.
Rock and roll hair?
Calling this thing a pound sign instead of a hashtag? No, the sensation is back at Zaxby's.
The Zensation Salad is back, and introducing the new Zensation Filet Sandwich Meal with hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, both served with an egg roll. The Zensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal, only at Zaxby's.
The door is open, the beer's cold, and the biscuits are hot at Foshee Watts on Dable Road in Alexander City. Fishing season is in year-round and live bait is available. Non-ethanol gas is available along with propane and pellet ice. So come on by and see what we're all about, where the kitchen is open Monday through Friday early at Foshee Watts on Dable Road in Alexander City. And tell them old Katie sent you right here from the front porch, WAXC TV.
Got about 30 minutes left here in the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown. We talked a lot about Alabama the last couple of segments, and it was needed. When a game kind of lives up to hype like it did last Saturday, you deserve to talk about it even a week later. I know that's all I've really talked about at the water cooler this week. Talked more about Alabama and LSU than I have Auburn and Georgia. And this is an Auburn fan saying that. But, you know, Alabama, everything that they could possibly want still out in front of them if they went out. But it's going to be tough to do, and that's a good segue into Auburn and Georgia. Auburn gets to host Alabama and Georgia to close the season out, the same as we did a couple of years ago, where Auburn's able to get through those 2 games with victories, go into the SEC championship game, unfortunately lose that one, which knocks them out of the playoff run. I don't know that Auburn can get into the playoffs this year without that chance to go to the SEC championship game and win, but that's my question over to you, Scott. Does it matter? Who cares? Are we not looking way ahead if we're already factoring in maybe victories over Georgia and Alabama, I'd just rather at this point beat the two of them, because that would mean a lot to me, and if we happen not playing anything other than that, I can live with myself.
When the season started, I thought that if we were able to split Oregon LSU and split Georgia Alabama, I thought that that'd be a successful season. Excuse me, Florida was kind of the toss-up there, but Auburn comes into today, had they beaten LSU coming in this game, this would have been the game everybody was talking about. So I kind of like that this game doesn't have the same media appeal that it may normally have, because Auburn's kind of is really on the outside looking in, but they've got an opportunity over the next 3 weeks to end the season of their biggest rivals, and that you can't ask for a better opportunity than that. And on the national stage too, this does wonders for the program.
When you look down at the stat line this year with quarterback play, I would have never factored this in from Jake Fromm. But, I watched that entire South Carolina game for Georgia, and he was inept. There was a part of that game in the second half, Scott, where I go, South Carolina's going to have to do something wrong for Georgia to beat them and score enough to win this football game, and they couldn't. He's taken a step back this year, and look, he may play us out of the gym today. He may put 40 on the board and go back to being a pro potential that I thought he was a couple of years ago. But right now, man, he looks like the reason I feel so good about this game for Auburn.
Yeah, and I think Georgia's defense is as good as Auburn's.
I agree.
I think they're as good as Auburn. So I think a lot of what you've seen offensively has really just been them not trying to lose games because they know they don't have to do as much. And in a game like this, they're not going to be able to do that because both defenses are as good. So somebody's going to have to make a mistake for that to happen. But I'm with you. There's been a lot of comparisons with some of my Georgia friends. They've been saying how much better Fromm was. So we'll go look at the numbers. And they're not really. And, the two games that are isolated really for Bo Nix are on the road at LSU and at Florida. So, you can't really knock him. And at home, he's been unbelievable. So I like Auburn's chances offensively today against that stellar Georgia defense.
Here's those stats that Scott brings up. Jake Fromm on the season does have a good completion percentage at 67%. 1,858 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 3 INTs. Hasn't carried the football, and he never has since he's been at Georgia. He's got 23 carries for 31 yards and no touchdowns. Vice versa, here's Bo Nix in his freshman campaign. He's at 57%, so that's a number that always seems to be there for quarterbacks for under Gus Malzahn. You'd like to see it get better, and I think it will in the years to come. 1,798 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, 6 INTs. Has rushed the football 70 times for 214 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now also for Auburn, he's got a lot of sack yards that are taking off from that rushing total, or it would be much better. Whereas Georgia's only allowing 0.5 sacks per game. This Georgia offensive line and pass protection may be the best in the country. But I thought Swift was going to be more of a 15, 16, 1,700-yard back at Georgia 2 years ago. He hasn't become that, and I think he's the X factor today. How well does he play, and does he get any big plays against Auburn?
Yeah, and you mentioned the offensive line. I think that's our Auburn's front seven versus their offensive line is going to be the matchup to watch today. It's going to be a phenomenal matchup. They've got two guys for sure that are pro players on their offensive line, obviously with Auburn, what they have with their defensive line. But if they're able to run the ball, it gets a little shaky there, I think. Yeah, if they're able to move the ball on the ground, it's going to be a little tougher for Auburn to.
And it has to be from the running back position because the quarterback shows no capabilities of running the football at all. DeAndre Swift, 147 carries, 921 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Against Florida, it was a big gainer that won it. That's the thing, even you think back a couple of years ago in the SEC championship game. Swift getting out in the open field and running one for a 60-yard touchdown in a game like today where I see being a 23-20 game, 20-17 game. He's the X factor because he does have breakaway speed and he's got big playability, and we need to keep him from not hitting plays like that.
Yeah, good friend is my cousin Chelsea Hall. He's a huge Georgia fan, and so that's what he's been saying all game. He said, I think that, he said, Swift probably gets 25 carries today. He said he'll have to get over 100 yards. He said, even if it's not working, they're going to have to keep feeding me. He said, but I think he's due to break one, and if he's able to break one, that's where he's the most dangerous, is in the open field. So I don't know. I'm excited for this matchup because Auburn's defense has been phenomenal all season. Obviously, what Georgia's been able to do defensively and with their offensive line. So the matchups here are, from the line of scrimmage, is going to be something good to watch.
We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about a few more specifics with Auburn's offensive side, and then I do want to show this defensive matchup and show the strength of both of these teams, which is defense, and Georgia's got one that's equal to Auburn, and we won't say that the rest of the season this year. 256-234-6221, more of the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
We're ready for back to school, even if you aren't ready. Purchase any Napa Automotive battery and receive $25 back by mail at Napa Auto Parts.
Your comfort is our number one concern. Advanced heat and air.
With the hot summer season just around the corner, it's time to decide if your current air conditioning system will keep you cool this year. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate on a brand new energy-efficient Trane heat pump system for your home or business. Your comfort is our number one concern. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 256-234-5052.
WOTM, your new home for high school sports in Alabama. The road to Jordan-Hare continues this Friday on WOTM with live second-round AHSAA playoff coverage featuring the Central Clay Volunteers traveling to Walker County to take on the Jasper Vikings. Stay with WOTM each Friday for live games every round of the playoffs and on to Jordan-Hare for exclusive TV coverage of the AHSAA Super 7, only on WOTM.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part? Does it fit the budget? That's what your local Cat dealer is here for. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Visit ThompsonCat.com, your compact equipment provider.
The Prestige Selection at Gill's Auto Sales in Opelika has the largest selection of prestige cars, trucks, and SUVs in Central and East Alabama, all with financing available, little to no money down, and extended warranties. Get pre-qualified in under 2 minutes, online or from your mobile device at GillsPrestigeOnline.com. It's the Prestige Selection at Gill's Auto Sales, 1430 Gateway Drive in Opelika.
Grab a 5-quart jug of Napa conventional motor oil for only $12.99 for a limited time at Napa Auto Parts.
It takes winning your fair share of games to call something a rivalry. And when you look at Auburn and Georgia's series totals, this is a rivalry. Now, unfortunately for Auburn, over the last 14 years, we've lost 11 of them, or this number would be skewed more towards Auburn's direction. But right now, the overall series has Georgia in the lead 59-56 to 8. And the point totals in that series are scarily equal as well. So this is a matchup, and this is a series that's always been close. It was an odd one back in the 80s and 90s where it felt like whichever team was on the road won the football game for a stretch there. But Scott, losing 11 out of 14 is not a number that Auburn fans like to think about or talk about. And I saw where Brandon Marcello wrote an article that he thought this was kind of a culture, kind of a game that kind of sets the tone for what Gus Malzahn's able to do as the head coach. And I have to agree with him wholeheartedly. I like Brandon. I think he's a really good beat writer and does a great job with that. But I think he's dead on. You can't keep letting programs – Alabama's, I'm just throwing them as an outlier. Nick Saban's some kind of cyborg over there that just keeps pounding out these seasons. But you can't just let your next closest nemesis get away from you. And when you've lost 11 out of 14, they're getting a little bit away from you. And so we got to bring it back in. And that big victory in 17 was a start. But winning again in back-to-back games at home would mean well for Auburn, I think.
Oh, most definitely. And so removing 17, you have Cam Newton.
Yep.
And then you have the
13
season with Nick Marshall. So you had the tip pass. So you take that out. I mean, they've dominated the decade for sure. And so, and even going back, 04, 05, we do win those. But since Gus has been there or affiliated with the program, we've beaten them 3 times, and it took 2 of the best players we've ever had in school history for that to happen. So, yeah, I think that they are the better program right now, and have been for a while. But if you're able to win 2 out of 3 and then prevent them from getting an SEC championship, and, you finish out strong, that's the next comparable team. I always used to say A&M, but Auburn and Georgia are very, very comparable schools, and I think there's an opportunity for Auburn to get 2 out of 3 here today.
Let's look at these 2 defenses. This matchup will make or break this game for both sides. Let's start with Georgia. These are 1980 defense totals that you used to look down. That's the only example I can give to here. Georgia's giving up an average of 260 yards per game, which is 5th nationally and number 1 in the SEC. They're giving up 74 yards rushing per game, 4th nationally, number 1 in the SEC. 185 passing yards per game. That's 17th nationally, 3rd in the SEC. 10.1 points per game is all Georgia's allowing. That is 2nd nationally, number 1 in the SEC. I can keep down these totals, but they all kind of look like that, Scott. This is, you can say that they haven't played the schedule that Auburn has. They haven't played the matchups that we've had offensively, and I would agree with that to a point. But you don't get to this part of the season with numbers like this without a special defense.
Yeah, you look at the Notre Dame game, unbelievable. You really just outside of South Carolina, and even in that game, the defense played as well as you could play. This has been building for the last couple of seasons. You had to expect that with Kirby Smart. At some point, that was going to be the staple of this team. And when you have somebody like Jake Fromm, who I thought who I still think is a pro player, but has really been more game manager this season, these numbers even reflect that even more.
Auburn's defensive totals, not up to there, but when you look at that LSU game on the road, you think about what Auburn did on the road at Florida too, and those 2 losses, the defense played extremely well in both of those games, so somewhat skew these numbers, but still a strong outing so far this year, for Auburn's defense. We're giving up 334 yards per game, which is 28th nationally, 4th in the SEC. 112 rushing yards per game. What a great number that is. That's 21st nationally, 3rd in the SEC. This is the one total where Georgia may have to win the football game throwing the football, and can they, is a big question. Auburn's giving up 221 passing yards per game. A lot of those yards were skewed by what Joe Burrow did, as LSU got over 500 yards of offense, just couldn't stick it in the end zone a lot, but moved the football pretty much at will between the 20s against Auburn. That's 59th nationally, 9th in the SEC. Point total, Auburn's giving up 17.4 points per game. That's 13th in the country, 3rd in the SEC. Scott, if I'd have told you in 2013 and 14 that Auburn would have defensive numbers like this and Gus Malzahn would still be your head coach, what would be your answer back to me on what type of season we'd be having?
I would think we'd be You expect one, he's going to have. But I mean, I think we're in a position, we're doing exactly what we should be doing with Gus. I feel bad for this year's team, though, because, as I've said, every 3 to 4 years, Auburn has an opportunity to go to an SEC championship. 2017, they weren't that good. They just played a lot better than they were playing earlier in the season and finished out strong. So can't really say that. But this was a year where everything was aligned except you had a freshman quarterback. That was going to be the thing, and whether or not you had somebody from the running back position that could step up. But defensively, this is what I grew up on watching Auburn football is you're giving up 14 points a game. And, like, if you could get to 20, that's all you needed from an offensive standpoint. So from Gus's standpoint, the best thing he has going for him are two things, Kevin Steele and Travis Williams. As long as those two people maintain their roles with the team, Auburn will be in this position to be competitive.
Rodney Garner, too.
Rodney Garner, too. Yes,
don't knock him. He keeps churning out defensive linemen, and Garner is doing a heck of a job out there recruiting also. So, I'm with you. But you have to tip your hat to Gus Malzahn. If you're going to throw darts at him for some inefficiencies on the offensive or some deficiencies on the offensive side of the ball, you've got to also tip your hat to him on what he's put together defensively. He hired these guys. He brought them in.
I'll say
he changed the culture by bringing, I think, some Auburn guys in that has really helped in the recruiting front and helped from what I sense in the locker room, which is Cadillac, Travis Williams, Rodney Garner, guys that you go back and you say, those are hard-nosed guys that I want all of our teams to look like, and it's kind of turned into that.
I think and I guess this probably goes for most Auburn fans, but for me, I think my true disgruntledness comes with not that if we're not being effective offensively, but if we're not being effective offensively for what you were brought in to do. So if you were brought in to do this high pace, high octane offense, put up a lot of points, then we don't have to necessarily go. I love Bo Nix. I mean, that's who you're supposed to get, but I don't think that this team necessarily has to have a 5-star quarterback back there. I think that this offense, we've seen it, can go and take an athlete back there and put up massive numbers, make a national championship run, and the next year your team was probably better than the team that actually went to the national championship. So for me, I just don't think we've recruited as well for what he was brought in to do. So if we're going to lose with what we brought you in to do. So, but if we're going out here and we have these pedestrian numbers because you're trying to,
play around.
Yeah, like, man, I have a problem with that. That's where my issue comes in.
I agree with you. What is our identity on the offensive side? It seemed like he wanted to go back to what Gus Malzahn was, which was get the football in playmakers' hands and run play and play with some tempo. Will we see that today, or will we see the Gus Malzahn offensive unit that looks like they're thinking, interchanging parts constantly, which slows us down? Not getting the football in Anthony Schwartz and other playmakers' hands near enough for him to go into post-game press conferences and look down and say, well, I screwed up there. Schwartz should never leave a game where he doesn't touch the football but 2 times. And we all go, well, no kidding. Well, the last outing for Auburn, it felt like he had a plan in place to change that up, and it worked out well. So we'll see what this does today. It should be a great matchup. We'll go ahead and take our last break here on the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Skag, the toughest name in lawnmowers. Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that Skag means productivity and reliability. Every Skag mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. Skag.
Satterfield Outdoor Living on Highway 280 in Alex City.
Hey, it's Steve from the Car Stereo Shop in Auburn, and after 10 years of serving the good people of East Alabama and West Georgia, we're still doing business the same way, offering the best products at the best prices with the area's best warranties and installing them with the area's best technicians. With great customer service, a knowledgeable sales staff, and our commitment to customer satisfaction, Along with the best selection of the latest technology in the industry, there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Shop with confidence. Shop at the Car Stereo Shop in Auburn.
Folks around these parts have known for a long time that Walls Tire, just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280, is your #1 stop for automotive service and repair. At Walls Tire, you'll always find quality service at a fair price on everything from AC, name brand tires, big or small repairs, routine maintenance, towing, and more. When your car or truck needs to run right, there's one place in the area to go, conveniently located and easy to find. Walls Tire, just a mile past the bridge on Highway 280.
At Russell Medical, our transitional care unit is a great alternative to nursing home care after a medical or surgical hospital stay. Transitional care increases strength and endurance through skilled nursing and therapy programs to promote a safe return home. Enjoy on-site therapy, private rooms, an activity center, and more. Call Russell Medical today to see if our transitional care unit is the right care for you.
Finding a job might be tough, but starting your new career has never been easier. Wellborn Cabinet in Ashland has a wide array of career opportunities with benefits. General labor production, skilled cabinet builders, product assembly line, shipping, over-the-road truck drivers, clerical, marketing, security, daycare, office clerks, and so much more. Apply in person, 38669 Highway 77 South in Ashland, or online at wellborn.com. Building cabinets, building careers, and building our community.
Scott, Auburn basketball looked strong last night. Samir Dowdy goes for 33. McCormick, 16 assists, breaks a 40-year mark for assists for Auburn. They had 100 points with 8 minutes left to go in the ball game. No, this was not a premier team that they were matched up with, but this is Auburn basketball, and I know that I have to keep repeating myself that we're a Final Four team last year, and I almost have to pinch myself that that's true and that's reality. But we've gotten to a point now where this is somewhat expected, and I don't know why, but I expect it too, that he's going to get things cut on, and when the light switch comes on, this team's talented enough to really play well. Just your thoughts. Did you watch most of the game last night?
Yeah, we watched the entire game, and the thing that I see the most, you look at a game like South Alabama, and close game, it shouldn't have been that close. South Alabama, I think, played the best game that they're going to be able to play all year.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you come back, didn't let that get to you, come back out and you put up 116. So this team, I think, is still in the process of figuring out their roles. I think this was a game where you had a good opportunity to see that. But when you have – this team is even more unselfish than last year's team. And that's when you had two studs, really three studs there on that team. But, I mean, the way that McCormick is so unselfish, and then the involvement now with somebody like a Pure Four who, still doesn't have to be a premier player, but he can give you 12 to 15 every night. Coral's going to give you 12 to 15 every night. Malcolm Moore give you maybe an 8 and 8. I mean, people are starting to get their role kind of carved out, and I think that this team has the ability to make another run for the Auburn Tigers.
Really agree with that. Samir Dowdy, to me, reminds me so much of Marquise Daniels that's over there on the bench.
You said that. Yeah.
He does things, and look, I'm not comparing him because Marquise Daniels is one of the best we've ever had at Auburn. Now, is he some kind of all-time SEC great? No, but we're Auburn basketball. He is one of our best. He made things look easy. And I think Dowdy last night decided that he was going to turn it on the offensive end rather than be passive. And when he's not passive and he's taking shots, and his release is beautiful. He gets rid of that basketball so quickly. And then I think this is a team that can be special if we have him averaging 16 to 18 points per game. And right now he's probably averaging that. We need him to keep averaging that, and we need players to be looking to him to make the shots that he is. Because I think we're going to get a great season out of Pure Four. He just looks the part out there. He may have some off nights, but, man, his athleticism's back really good, and he looks aggressive out there on the court. I feel for Nate Oates right now. This schedule that Avery Johnson left Nate Oates with, And I watched an interview with him, which, by the way, I think he's going to be great at Alabama. Just the interviews, just feel from him. I think he'll get them back where they want to be. It's just going to take a while, same as it took Bruce Pearl a while. Yeah, I mean, when you're coming down from pitifulness for Auburn and just sheer mediocrity for Alabama for a 20-year stretch, it's hard to build that back up to something you can be proud of. But Nate Oates having to go on the road at Rhode Island last night to a very good and playing there, and yes, losing. Just not a good matchup, and you'd want one that you could win maybe around home to start off your tenure, but Avery Johnson's left it tough.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about Nate Oates yet. I'll have a better feel this season, but I do think that Alabama is set up to be as competitive as they'd like to be on the basketball floor. I think that everything from the athletic department itself should allow them to be as successful as they'd like to, but they have to win. And I think the fact that Auburn is now making strides and becoming, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference is going to force Alabama's hand to really put more attention toward the basketball program, which from a fan's perspective, I love, because as much as I love football, it's been great the last 3 years to be in the Auburn Arena or travel to Atlanta to go watch, Nashville, or watch the team play for a Final Four. So I think that the culture of basketball is a lot of fun, especially for students too. I think that's a great aspect of being a student.
Basketball is a little important to your family, isn't it?
Yeah, all the way around.
Yeah, it sure is, all the way around. You're marrying into basketball, and your uncle's getting started. We got about 3 minutes left right here to close out the show, and maybe I think I'm supposed to close out here in the next minute, but talk a little bit about Jeremy. He's just getting started.
Yeah, they played Childersburg Thursday, lost by 4 points there, or 5 points, something to that extent, but it was for a Thursday night game, it was a heck of an environment. Student section was packed. A lot of community support was there, but I think that if the buy-in is there, which it appears that it is, with some of the younger guys that they have coming up, the future is very bright for the Benton Russell basketball
Future's
program.
bright, and future's bright for a lot of teams right now in high school football. Get out there, support your local communities, support these athletes and administration and coaches out there, because they put in a ton of work, and it is really time for championship part of the season, and we can't wait to be over at Jordan-Hare in the next few weeks calling championship games, all of our crew. For Scott Hardy, I'm Randy Lee saying thanks for tuning into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown.
Growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. Should you lease, rent, or own? How fast can you get that part?